be seen, not heard, speak only when spoken to, this is how you make me feel. All of these things are things that you hear frequently growing up as a kid. I mean, starting as young as you can probably remember. So when it comes time to loving yourself, you can kind of go, I don't have no idea where to start. I don't even know what self-love would even look like for me. Well, that is what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to episode 67 of the Positivity Experience. Learn to love yourself. Check it out. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to episode 67 of the Positivity Experience. It's your girl, Lori, and I am a year older since the last time we chatted. I am 51. My birthday was the 7th, which was this past Thursday. And yeah, I mean, I've had a really good time. My best friend of 46 years came down from Pennsylvania. We partook in a lot of different drinking and just had a really good time. Went out to the outlets, did a little shopping, went to a coffee shop. It was just nice, really nice and simple. And it was so funny because this was originally going to be a topic, but like later on. But as I was talking to Kim, that's my best friend, as I was talking to her, we were talking a little bit about how much in general, when you develop your self-love, how much more progress and just reaching your goals and redefining your goals and restructuring your life, how it just starts to fall into place. I mean, now when I say that, doesn't mean that it's falling into place and everything's easy. It just means that the road starts to become a little bit clearer. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that today. So yes, I am 1 year older. I'm now starting my 52nd trip around the sun. But yeah, your girl's 51. So, and I thank you so much. You guys all reached out on socials and wished me happy birthday. And man, you guys are amazing. And I just want to thank you so much for that. And so let me jump into it a little bit with you. And in the beginning of the trailer, right, you heard me say, like, be seen, not heard, speak only when spoken to, you made me feel, or you made your mother or father feel such and such way. Think about all of the things that you're kind of set up with to not know how to have self-love, right? So let me be clear on this. No one typically is born with the ability to have self-love because you don't really get the concept of it. You don't really understand it. I mean, how could you, right? And then you're being raised by people who are also imperfect, which is fine. Like there are no perfect people in the world. They're just not. It's never going to happen. And the imperfections can sometimes become problematic, right? And you guys know my backstory with the abuse and mom passing and all of these things that come up that you just have no control over at that age. And for me, and you guys know that this is just for me, that the acceptance and exposure to my feelings and all of that has been the best thing for me because I would not change my trauma. I know a lot of people are like, why? Listen, I mean, sure. If I could say, if God would be like, hey, if you go back in time, your mom will live longer. Okay, well, yes, that would be great. But the reality is that's just not happening. So that's the acceptability of it. And another part of the acceptance is that the way that you were taught things doesn't mean that you have to align with them. So again, think about the people who you're raised by, even if they're great people. This isn't to knock anyone, okay? But as far as giving you the tools to even understand yourself and how to adopt that self-love mentality, putting yourself as a priority, allowing yourself to be imperfect and loving all of those imperfections, that's not really taught, right? Because it's, well, do this better. Oh, at school you got a 94 on a test. Well, if you could just studied a little bit harder, you could have got 100. Or wait, why are you talking? Like, this is for grown folks people. I mean, grown folks business here. You got to stay over there in your lane. Go somewhere, right? Of course, you want to learn manners, blah, blah, blah. I hear you. But if you think about it, you're told how you are supposed to live your life growing up as a kid, right? Again, you aren't here 5 minutes on the planet after being born. Usually you have a name. You might have a political and a religious affiliation. If you're super lucky, I guess you have your college paid for. You don't even know if you want to go to college, but this is paid for you. And now this is an expectation. Problematic. That you don't have to. Like, that's not a rule. You don't have to go to college. It's not a rule. I mean, listen, from us older people, that was our trajectory. Do this, go to school, go to college, get a job, 2.5 kids. That's what you do. That's your role in life, and that's it. So a lot of us went that route, right? Because that's what you're told. the trauma, and the reason why I said I would not trade my trauma is because if I didn't have what I had in my life and the things that continuously have happened and will happen again in the future, if I didn't have that, I would never have been put, well, I can't say never because you don't know, but I definitely not on the level that I am today, for sure. I would have never been put in a position where I had to learn and sort of like relearn and retrain my mind to realize that these people who are telling you be seen, not heard, you're responsible for my feelings, you need to do, you should do, I didn't have to worry about that anymore because my trauma, right? So I had to be out on my own. I had to figure it out. I had to screw up royally multiple times. I had to learn the hard way multiple times. And I had to go through my own healing. And this is where the shadow work comes in, because you guys know I do a lot of shadow work with people and my clients and myself. This is where you have to work on, and some of you might be uncomfortable with this, especially if you have thanatophobia, which is death phobia, is to allow yourself, and it's a process. Don't just get off the podcast and be like, okay, I'm going to go to my own funeral. Like, we're not doing that. But you want to be able to have the tools to basically put to death that old version of you, the old thought systems, the old belief systems. And it's literally like almost like, well, the way I do it with clients when they're ready, right? Some people aren't ready and some people aren't there yet because they haven't really been in a space where they can say, I have completely let go of things, which is a process, right? That's not going to be overnight. It could take as long as it needs to be. But when you get there, that person, you don't want to forget. See, that's the thing. Everybody's like, I wish you could just, because you guys know I do hypnotic therapy. I wish you could just hypnotize it away. No. Even if I had the God-given ability to just, or like on Men in Black with that little pin and just do a mind eraser. I mean, sure, I guess that would work. But even if you were to be hypnotized out of it, the trauma is already in your system. That memory is already in your subconscious. So until you deal with it and you face the fact that, maybe you keep trying to please mom. Maybe you're a people pleaser. You're trying to please mom. You're trying to please your husband, your wife, your partner, your kids, all of these people, because for so long, either you were lack of nurture or it was the other direction, which is extremely toxic too, where someone is just gloating on you all the time. How amazing you are, how you can't do anything wrong. All these things. See, people think that's good. That's not. You are setting that person up to be the biggest narcissist on the planet. Because the reality is you can't be whatever you want to be. See? You know what I mean? You can be whatever you want. No, you can't. You cannot be whatever you want to be. You can work towards the goals of the things that you think you want to be. But I can't, what am I? I can't just be an astronaut. Sure, I could work towards it. But I can't just decide one day, I'm going to be an astronaut and just boom, I'm an astronaut. Hell no. I would have to go, I'm sure, tons of schooling and just stuff. I can't just be an astronaut. But in general, you can't just be anything. I can't go be an NFL player. That is a fact. I am 51 years old. I am, not that I'm a female and it matters, but I am a female. I am not and cannot be an NFL player. Like, I just can't. So my point to that is, the opposite of neglect in your life is this false, you can be anything you want because it looks good on me. And see, that's the big part of self-love too. You have to realize when people say, oh my God, don't do that. That's embarrassing. You're going to embarrass the family. That is the most toxic, manipulative, controlling narrative on the planet. You are going to embarrass the family. So now any self-love that you could potentially have, any goals you could potentially have that does not align with whatever their narrative is for you is now, oh my God, you better not do that. Absolutely. You're wrong. You can't do that. You're going to embarrass us. F that. Let them be embarrassed. Let them be embarrassed as much as they want to be because it's your life. Okay? Your self-love is never the responsibility to make people happy with it. To have self-love and to develop self-love is to accept that sometimes those things that you were told growing up as a child, they're not going to work for you. It may be religion. It may be politics. It may be anything that your family tells you is just what we do. This is how our family does things. Toxic, manipulative, gaslighting. That's exactly what that is. Well, this is how you're expected to do this in this family. Toxic, manipulative, gaslighting. And because that has been ingrained in your brain, and let's say, you've been judged and overly judged, because everybody has been, everybody listening to this podcast has been, and you've probably judged other people, right? So remember, you can't live in that space and say, I want to have self-love, but I want the situations to be the same, but I want all these other people to change. When you are developing self-love, you have to strip yourself, literally strip yourself of your beliefs and then rebuild them. Okay. So let's say you grew up and in my case, I grew up Southern Baptist, but I definitely don't practice that. I practice more of like a Buddhist, very peace, love, and happiness, earth kind of love. And that's just how my way of life is. And, but I didn't have a choice growing up. This is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. And if you don't do this, you're wrong. Okay. So think about that. That's a very toxic, false narrative. Now, to be fair, we all do that. Even you guys listening and you have kids and stuff, you've given them whatever road map that was given to you, and maybe you tweaked a little bit. And the reality is this: you're not going to be a perfect parent. Get over thinking you can. It's just the goal of parenting is to screw your kids up just a little bit less than what you were screwed up. Just a little bit. Okay? Because if it's progress, not perfection. And you have to understand you can only be as good as the tools that were given to you, right? But this is where, if you are listening to this and I say to you, what are some hobbies you like? And you go, I don't know. That, of course you don't, because you were told it didn't fall in alignment with something. You've been too busy people pleasing. You cannot have self-love and be a people pleaser. Those two things do not live on the same planet. So to develop self-love is to allow yourself to rewrite the program. And in order to do that, to really start with loving yourself, is to accept where you are today. I don't care where it is, good, bad, or indifferent. Accept it now. Okay, this is where I am. Because what you don't want to do is start going, gosh, man, if I would have just made this decision, if I would have just listened, or if they would have just listened. Okay, that's definitely not self-love. Okay, that's not loving yourself. That's thinking that it's somebody else's responsibility to make you feel some kind of way, or it was their responsibility to do said thing. Yes, as a child, if you were not nurtured, sure, you did not have the tools, but you can't live in that space, right? That's why you want to work through that. You don't avoid it. You don't try to pretend it didn't exist. You work through it. You embrace that pain and turn it into power. Now, going back to the stripping of the belief systems, here's a really good exercise. So we're at like 13 minutes if you're driving. Because again, I know a lot of you listen while you're driving. I listen to podcasts while I'm driving. And so about 13 minutes, you could always go back to this when you get yourself comfortable. And it's going to be pen to pad. So you're going to break out your pad. You're going to break out your pen. And I want you to write down the beliefs that your family gave you, society has given you, social media has given you. Be specific. Don't be like, be successful. What the hell does that even mean? We are not doing that. And this is going to force you, right? Allow you to really learn what you think the issues are. Because a lot of times you'll be like, well, I'm not sure why I believe that. Exactly. Because you're not giving yourself time to. You don't know if it came from your parents. You don't know if it came from Instagram. You'll know where it came from. So to sit down and let's say, I'm trying to think of because I did this exercise like a jillion years ago. So I'm trying to think of, and it's somewhere because I like to keep some of those things. But it was something around the religion. I know that. And it was like, okay, if this isn't what I believe in, like I'm this awful person or I'm going to go to hell or these, okay, that's very dramatic for me. And I realized that it was ingrained in me, but it didn't align with me. So if it doesn't align with me, if it doesn't align with you, then don't do it. And then that is where your triggers are, because you go, okay, yeah, that's right. Cool. I don't want to do that. I want to start an Etsy shop and sell seashells. But everybody around me is not going to support that decision. Everybody around you doesn't have to, because that's where that validity also comes in, wanting to be validated, wanting to know that it's okay. And for so long, especially as an adult, right? Obviously, if you're a kid, you're going to need a little guidance, a little more guidance, a little bit more validation, because you're going to need that, okay? But as an adult, no, you do not. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not great. I mean, it's always great to hear something amazing and positive and reinforcing, but you don't need it, especially from other people. So when you are loving yourself, you're not just listening to those voices that were told you, wow, but do you really want to eat that? Minute on the lips, lifetime on the hips, right? And then not so much now because, fat shaming is like bad, but growing up, fat shaming was what people did. I mean, not just as a ridicule. Commercials, Special K cereal, they don't do it anymore. Special K cereal, on the box, the K had a tape measure around it, okay? So it looked like it was like squeezing the middle, and then, and it was like, can you pinch more than an inch? Right? So now there's shame there. Now there's shame not even just by your people. There was shame, and there to some level there still is, just watching social media. But there is like, okay, if you're not a size 2, you're not blonde hair, blue eyes, and you don't have this, that, and the third, you're just not good enough. That's a false narrative. Okay, do not allow, you can't have self-love and think that what other people think about you is valid, because it's not. Now, for so long, you might have been told how bad you are, how ugly you are, how short you are, how whatever you are, how anything. You have to understand their version and vision of you does not have to be your identity. Now, vice versa, your judgment of someone, why would they do this? Why would they do that? You don't need to know their why. And when you have self-love and when you start to develop it, you start to release the expectation of others and you start to release the need to know why. So how you can decide and know that when you start to have self-love and loving on yourself, you will know, because you won't be as judgy. People will do things that you're like really don't align with, and it will not trigger you. You might be like, oh, that's weird. Okay, well, it doesn't work for me. I'm going to keep it moving. You will be okay with people not understanding you. You will be okay with people not liking you. You will be okay with people trying to smear you and try to make you feel bad and gaslight, manipulate you. When I say okay, I don't mean you're going to allow it. It just won't trigger you, and you'll be really good in your boundaries. So going back to this exercise, when you have this paper and you start writing down all of these beliefs that you think are a thing, okay? Don't put them in any specific order. Just write it all down, okay? Take your time. Could be a day, could be 2 days, could be a week. Next to that belief system, okay, so you're going to put them kind of like, in a category, like in a row, in a list, right? You don't have to put numbers to them, but right there. But leave enough space to ask yourself why you believe that, okay? So if you say to me, this is what we do, right? This is what I do. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what it is. Make the bed, okay? I promise you, if you guys don't make your bed, the house is not going to explode, okay? But let's say growing up, this is what was drilled in your head. Okay, yes, sure. You can read a million self-help books. It's like, get up, make your bed. That's the success of the day. Yeah, I hear you. But the reality is, I ain't going to do it every day. It's just not happening. And I'm okay with that. But let's say you were raised that your bed had to be made before you left the bedroom every single day. So now let's say your kids don't want to make their bed. And you keep railing them, make your bed, make your bed, make your bed, make your bed. Why? Is the bed, I know I get what you're doing. You're trying to establish a discipline. You're trying to establish responsibility. But there comes a point in time where you're not establishing anything because now you're nagging. And when the second they get out from underneath your house, they are going to never make their bed, whether you like it or not. So in this case, I want you to ask yourself, okay, like whichever, and in this case, we'll just use making your bed. And ask yourself where that belief system comes from. Well, I heard in a book, you're successful. I promise you, yes, it's great. It's great to do. It's a good habit to get into. That's lovely. But if you don't do it, does not mean that you are going to fail at something. Does not mean that you are less than, and does not mean anything else. But let's say you were told, because let's say your mom had OCD. You didn't know that though. And everything had to be meticulous. So you say, okay, well, mom said, this is just what we do. Okay, don't just automatically blindly adopt that as an adult. If you choose to do it because you're like, this looks really good, it makes me feel good, absolutely do it. You can say, this really aligns with me, put a check beside it, and then make your bed every single day because it makes you feel good. But do not think, and here's how you can gauge that, because you might be like, okay, well then all of these I agree with. No, you don't. This is how you gauge that. If there is a day, let's say you're like, okay, well, I enjoy making my bed. It's great. and you're thinking, I'm okay with it. And for whatever reason, you're running late one day, you don't make your bed. If it bothers you, that's not good. You do it because you choose to do it. So if it aligns with you, you're not a failure if you don't do it. But if you feel out of sorts, like you get to work and you're like, oh my God, I didn't make my bed. And you might just be a passing thought, cool. But if you're like, I can't believe I didn't do that. Oh my gosh. Now you're obsessing on it all day long. I promise you it doesn't align with you. It's the same exact thing with church. It's the same exact thing with anything that you're doing. And another way to say, does this align with me, is to understand that just because it aligns with you doesn't mean other people have to adopt it, right? So not so much the bed, because that's just a silly thing. Like if you're like, I can't be friends with you because you don't make your bed. I mean, that's a way 15 different topics in a podcast we can do. But let's say you find yourself being judgmental because they're not doing it the way you're doing it. There's a really good chance that that's something that you adopted that really isn't yours in the first place. Because when you're comfortable believing in it, you do it because it makes you feel good, but you don't judge other people who don't do it. The moment you do that, there's this weird level of you have to do this or you're wrong. And the reality is that's false. Now you're adopting a false narrative that you're going to throw onto other people. So when you're doing your self-love and falling in love with yourself, you create amazing relationships with other people because you value them for where they are. You meet them where they are. If they think of something that totally does not align with them, then you know your boundaries. There's zero reason for me to go through life trying to figure out why people are racist or why people feel this way. Like I would drive myself insane. Because their false narratives tells them that their race is far more superior than any other race, which is, in my opinion, is an extremely false narrative and extremely limited and ridiculous, way of looking at things. Now, that being said, I'll do what I can do or educate people where needed. I will not look at somebody and be like, oh my God, what is wrong with them? And da-da-da-da. No, I just don't want to be affiliated with them and I'll just keep it moving. If it's news or something like that and I don't like it, there's this really cool thing called swiping away, like legit. Why would you sit there and judge someone and drive yourself crazy by doom scrolling and looking at negative comments and getting yourself worked up? Literally, you do not have to like everything somebody posts. You literally do not have to understand what they're doing. And you also don't have to leave a dumb comment. Swipe or turn the channel or hang up the phone. Power, baby. That's when you have self-love. To have full self-love is to accept that if mom or dad or a friend or whatever doesn't like how you've decided to not adopt what they're doing, that's for them to deal with. And so when you love yourself, you have to realize that means that you are putting yourself as a priority. You are finding out who you are, what you like, and you're told what you like a lot of times. No, you don't feel that way. What the hell? I know how I feel. And now feelings aren't facts valid. And going back to that matter of fact, never tiptoe around people. If you are tiptoeing around people, the people who you're tiptoeing around that's being manipulative. Okay, even if they don't intentionally do it, it's still manipulation, right? So if you walk in the house, I'm going to use mom, right? You walk in and you're like, oh God, I got to go see mom. Oh God, everything's going to be a problem. Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to go over there. And you walk in there and you see this look on her face and you are like, ooh, this is not going to be good. And you try really hard not to rock just don't go in the house. Why are you doing that? Her bad day has nothing to do with you. And if it does have something to do with you and she doesn't tell you, again, hers to process. So why would you hold on to relationships? I don't care if they're family. I don't care if they're workers. It doesn't matter. Coworkers. I understand you're going to have to do some things that you don't like to do in life. Facts. So like at work, you don't get to pick always the people that you're working with. So you can't control the toxicity there, but you can control your reaction to the toxicity. It's the exact same thing with this fictitious thing about mom. If she's driving you crazy every time driving you crazy. Well, that too. But if you're having to tiptoe around her or other people, that's not okay. And if you're tiptoeing around them because you want to people please and you're not sure if they're happy, that's a telltale sign for you to continue to either do life coaching, therapy, or both, or all of the above. Okay. And it's imperative that you understand when you start your self-love journey and I have said this multiple times, and I will say this multiple times again. You will, not might, you will lose people. Be okay with that. People come into your life a reason, season, or a lifetime. You don't always get to pick. Stop thinking that you will have a self-love journey and people are going to be there to support it and they're going to be your cheerleader. Stop. That's codependency. And I told you, I promise you, we'll do podcasts on that too. But you have to understand, you will lose people. You will distance from people without even knowing it. It's not like you're going to sit there and be like, okay, self-love, I'm checking you off the list and you off the list. It might be the closest person to you. Be willing to do that. The moment you're not willing to do that, that's where the fawn response, that's where codependency, that's where there's a lot of things that come into play there. So you can't say you want to feel better and think it's going to happen overnight. You can't say you want to love yourself and think that everybody is going to support you. You can't say you want to start this self-love journey and not put yourself as a priority. You cannot say, I want to sit there and love myself, but I don't really want a lot of chaos. There will be chaos. There will be chaos because things are going to shift for you. You might have been in this job for 20 years, thought you liked it, kind of thought you liked it. Not every day was great, but not every day is going to be, right? And then as you start growing, you're like, oh gosh, well, I don't know. I think I want to try something new at 60. Okay, try something new at 60. And that's what I'm saying. So when you're working on self-love and to fully have self-love and love yourself is to love all of you. Accept your past and how you got to where you are. Embrace it. The pain, the trauma there, utilize that. That is why I say I would not change my trauma. Because I wouldn't be doing this as a profession and I wouldn't have this podcast. And if I did, it might be something totally different. Might be on baking. Who knows? So you got to realize, because that's a new word, you got to realize that your trauma doesn't always have to be something that you look and go, if this would have been different. Okay? Because if it would have, doesn't always mean it would have been better. Oh, it would have been better in this. You don't know that. And that's also to love yourself is to understand that it's okay. This is the other side of that. It's okay that other people might just not have the same belief system as you. That's all right. Because you love yourself. You stand in your convictions not to prove to someone that you're worthy. Ever. You do what you're doing because you love it and it aligns with you. You don't need everyone to cheerlead you on the way. You don't need everyone to go, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. You don't need it. I said it's nice, but you don't need it. You have to realize there will be things in your life that seem hard. There will be things that you will, from time to time, you will throw a pity party for yourself. That's perfectly fine. Just don't live there. But you are responsible for your own feelings. At the top in the trailer when I was like, oh, you made your mother feel, you don't make people feel things. As an adult, because as a kid it's a little harder, but as an adult, you do not have the ability to make anyone feel any way, and they do not have the ability to make you feel any way. They create an action or a verbiage, you attach the emotion. So if it's something to do with your trauma and you're attaching, let's say, an attachment or an abandonment issue with it, that's still not their responsibility to tiptoe around you to make it easier for you because you had abandonment when you were 6 and now you're 36 and you want this person to make it easier for you or make you feel better. That's not their role. But that's going to come from your self-love. Because remember, your trauma is never your responsibility. Your healing is 1000% your responsibility. So it's allowing yourself to get there. It's allowing yourself to be in a space to be okay with your thoughts. It's okay. Thoughts aren't facts. Doesn't matter how dark they are. They're not facts. And be okay with being alone. Okay? And before you say I feel lonely, you could have $8 million, 7 billion followers, anything that you think you wanted, and you could still feel lonely. So in order to not feel lonely is to get inside with yourself. Start learning what you like. Try new things. Oh, I don't know if I want to do that. That's okay. Do it anyway. Try it. Think, oh, what am I afraid of? Cool, let's do it. If it doesn't work, I'll be all right. I got me. Again, I know we're not islands. Everybody is, humans are social creatures. We don't live on an island. But that also doesn't mean that you hold on to someone based on a belief system that you were given as a child because this is family and this is what we do. Oh, you know, cousin Larry, know how he is. That's just him. That's not an excuse. I'm sorry. No one gets a free pass. That's just how they are. Nope. Nada. Not going to happen. Okay. So as you start this self-love thing, going back to the exercise, you know, where you are going to write down all of your belief systems and you have to really be clear in them. Maybe you think, let's think politically. So let's say you're right, left, or even independent. Why do you believe that way? Is it something you believe in, or is it something that you were raised that way? You know, are you a voter only strictly on party lines, or do you want to hear what all the candidates say with an open mind? And then if you say, well, I want to stick on my party lines, why? Well, because that's just what I believe in. Really? Do you believe in what everybody says to you all the time? So if somebody is a Republican or a Democrat or independent, you going to believe everything that they believe in? Doubtful. Because if you do, that's a definite big problem. So you obviously align with what you align with the most, but these are all still just people. Nobody has a hierarchy over you. Even if they have a fancier job, even if they have more money, even if they have more power, no. They're not better than you, and you're not better than anybody else. Sit down, be humble. Okay? So when you are looking and thinking religiously, why do you think your religion is the best for you? Good. Do you believe it? Do you feel it? Embrace it? Amazing. I am here for it. Now, do you judge others who aren't in believing in the same religion? If you said yes, you need to check yourself. Just because you believe one way does not mean anybody else has to. That's how you know you're trying to adopt other people's, not just their belief system, but to think that you're far more superior, that the way you think is the right way. Yeah, no, that's ego.com. Okay, so when you're doing this, you have to ask yourself, why is it, and I hate when people say this, well, that's your mom. Okay, that does not give her a free pass. Oh, well, you only get one mom. Yeah, that's true. But if it's toxic, why in the world do you want to hold on to that? That's a false narrative. Okay? And that's just the reality of it. So self-love is a daily practice. You don't just achieve self-love and then bam, okay, I'm good, I'm done. I'm good, done. Nah, you got to allow yourself to be your priority. You got to allow yourself to have your 10 minutes in the morning for gratitude journal. Your the rest of your free time, whenever you free time or whatever, me time, whether you're in a bath or whether you are writing in your other journals or whatever, you got to be able to also respect your own boundaries. No one oversteps a boundary. No one. You allow it to happen because you don't hold on to it. You allow the gaslighters, or you allow someone who is a human nature to try to push the limits at first. You allow it to happen. Okay? So you also don't show up for yourself. Show up for yourself. If you're going to do gratitude journaling, then show up and do it. Self-love. Self-love is how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself. So another part of the exercise, how do you feel about yourself right now? If you said negative, you said positive, why do you feel that way? 89 to 99% of that is because you're not doing what you think you should be doing because somebody else told you you're supposed to. Nah, you ain't got to do that either. So yes, you're allowed. We all have to have limits. We can't just all go do everything that we want to do. Hell, nobody would be doing anything. It would be like Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Like everywhere on the planet. So yeah, there's rules and regulations that we follow. But within those rules and regulations, you get to decide what works for you. So know that self-love is not someone else showing you that they love you. That's not self-love. That's external love. Literally no human being can give you self-love but you. Like literally. It's in the name, self-love. So you have to ask yourself, why do I not allow myself to be a priority? Why have I stayed in this mundane thing just because this is what we do in our family, or this is what I saw on Instagram, or this is what I saw on TikTok, and this is what you have to do. And everybody is wearing matching pajamas on Christmas Day on Facebook. Yeah, that's great. That doesn't mean you have to do that. You don't have to. Stop thinking that there's only one way to get to your goal. Stop. That's not a thing. Just because the masses are on this path, this beaten down path that's easy to see, and yeah, there's some roadblocks there, but you get there That's fine. Do you want, why are we doing what everybody else is doing? Like, what's that about? Be weird. Be weird. Be unique. Do the things that your soul is telling you to do, that you are refusing to hear because people might not like it. What if they judge me? Okay. What if they do? And that's why I say to you why self-love is so important. And I promise you, all of these people that you love in your life, you will have such a better relationship with, the ones who aren't like weeded out, right? And again, you don't get to really pick that. But these people, these relationships will have value, will have respect, will understand that it's okay that we don't see eye to eye on some things, but the things that matter the most to me, we do. But I don't have to call you every day. I don't have to wish happy birthday. I don't have to, I don't have to do those things just for you to know. And you don't have to do it for me. It also cuts back on a lot of the codependency, a lot of the abandonment, because as you're going on your self-love journey, you're going to go through life coaching, which you guys know I do that all over, or therapy, or both, or even more than that. That is part of the journey. You don't just discover it by yourself. That's not a thing. Don't just read 5 self-help books and think, okay, I got this. You don't. You do not. Stop trying to do it by yourself, because you will never push yourself past a certain comfort zone, ever. You will only allow yourself to go as far as you start to feel uncomfortable. And then you're like, okay, I don't want to do that part of it. That's just not going to develop self-love. Self-love is also taking risks. Also allowing yourself to try something if no one else likes it. Looking in the mirror and, hey, it's no secret. I like my Botox. Of course, I've only had it twice, but I still like my Botox. I've only had fillers once. I plan on having them again. I don't do that because of anybody else. I like it. I like how it makes me feel. Okay. And if I don't, then I won't. And it won't matter if somebody's like, oh God, where's your Botox? I'm like, at the doctor's office. So you can enhance yourself. You can go for walks. You can tone up your body if you want to. That's fine. But don't do it because you need someone else's validity. Ever. Okay. So that's some homework for you this week. And the reason I wanted to do it is because on my birthday, every year, that's my new year, not January 1st. My new year is my birthday. And I like to sit and I reflect on the past year. Okay, what are some goals that I had that I made, that I reached? Great, check, celebrate. What goals did I not reach? Okay, do I still want those goals? Because those goals might shift. And if I didn't meet them, that's fine. I'm not a failure. I just didn't get to them. But part of that is also reevaluating my self-love. Where can I firm up my boundaries? Where can I grow more? What can I do for myself? What can I do? Where are my shortcomings when I'm taking care of me and my mindset? What do I need to do for me? Not what does the world need to do for me? What do I need to do? Okay. So I love you guys. And I'm so happy to start this 51st year with you guys. Like literally, I'm 3 days old now. And I appreciate you all. And I know I keep getting a lot of feedback from amazing people over in Ukraine and Poland, and just saying how you are listening to the podcast and it just keeps you occupied. And gosh, I just want to tell you that I appreciate that. I don't take that for granted. I don't take anybody listening to this podcast for granted. This literally could be out into dead air somewhere that nobody is listening to. And I'd be okay with it because I enjoy it. But the fact that you guys are on the other end of this, and that you are hearing me, and that you tune in to listen to me, and you think that nobody else in the world might be appreciative of you, I am. I am greatly appreciative to you. So I love you guys. Get on your homework. Start asking yourself why you're adopting limited beliefs. Find the ones that work for you and tailor them to your way, because you know what? No one can be you except for you. Check it out.